It's Equity News on Equity Access, your daily insight of stock market developments and of developments in the Zimbabwean economy. A fantastic evening it is to you. Thank you for joining us as we broadcast from Hampton Studios. I'm Ibn Mabunda. Let's get started. The Lands and Agriculture Minister, Honorable Perrance SHiri, has called upon the new Zinwa board to improve in terms of service delivery. This comes on the backdrop of a $1.8 million profit recorded by the entity in the year 2018. Meanwhile, Lafarge posts a trading update for the first 5 months of the year 2019, and according to the trading update, there has been a 7% increase in sales volumes reported by the entity. This is according to a statement issued by the Chief Executive K.S. Kaulele. Now let's just get into the stats of how the corporation has performed over the past few years. In 2014, they posted revenue of $60 million, 2015, $61 million. Notably, in between 2014 and 2015, there was a decline in terms of the profit position, moving from $100,000 to negative $2 million in 2015. 2016, they were back into a profit position at 3.1, 2017. So it's been an oscillating trend with regards to both the revenue as well as the profits in that regard. And in 2018, they did report profit after tax of $1.3 million. Well, the corporation has a 14% stake in the market share for cement in the country. Meanwhile, David Whitehead shareholders have dismissed an earlier report issued by the Judicial Management to the effect of the acquisition of a 51% stake for $5.4 million by AVC. And now they've issued a statement, a presser, to denying such developments, saying they've not even been informed about the developments where the financial position of the corporation is concerned, and hence they've rubbished the indication that has been given by the judicial manager in that regard. Okay, Zimbabwe releases financials for the 2018 financial year, and according to the financials, they posted revenues that grew 37.6% to $800 million, while profit after tax also grew 300% to $50 million. The retailer, however, lamented high inflation with an internal inflation of 125%. Now let's get into the stats to look at how the corporation has performed historically. 2015 revenue of $462 million, dipping in 2016 to record $437 million, 2017 $472, and since then there has been an upward trajectory moving right up to $800 million. Notably, their results are in RTGS dollars. This is of course as opposed to most of the results that we've actually been discussing over the past few weeks, which are denominated in US dollar terms. Argument there being, since their sales are all in RTGS dollars, so effectively all their revenues as well as profits are actually in RTGS. And so in 2019, revenue of $800 million as well as profit after tax of $49.2 million. Our equity access team was on the ground for the presentation of the financials. And
2019, our own internal inflation registered as at the end of March 2019. We've explained before, but I'll explain the internal inflation. We capture that is the inflation we are reporting there. There's a difference between the official and the internal. This behavior, the currency to import, and local supply itself continue to be hamstrung by outdated technology, lack and cost of capital, as well as the state and cost of local utilities, and even the foreign currency itself affected local production because inputs had to be imported. The highlights of our finances: revenue went up by 37.6% to $801.9 billion. EBITDA increased by 142.6% to $76.8 million. Attributable income went up by 196.0% to 49.2 million. Earnings per share at cents 4.12, growth of 189.8. We continued with our capital expenditure in refurbishments and the new stores and replacement of equipment, IT 25.8 million, increasing by 66.3. The total assets, the balance sheet, 304.9 million, increase of 74.
Meanwhile, Brett Child, the chief executive of Brainworks, is set to step a good 2.5 years at the helm of Brainworks. Brainworks is listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and has a significant stake in African Sun here in Zimbabwe. Beyond our borders, South African rand weakening to its lowest since October 2018. This comes amidst controversy as ANC members engage in squabbles over the operations of the South African Reserve Bank. Well, this concludes our evening news bulletin. Up next is a look at the news. Please stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers. It's now time for news review, and with me in set is economist Tinashe Kaduo. Tinashe, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Eben. How are you?
Can't want complaints. You'd only get better yourself.
I'm very well.
Splendid. Now let's get on to the nitty-gritties of our news today. Agriculture Minister says Zinwa needs to shape up. Your take?
Yeah, indeed, we are in an economy which needs, efficiency more than anything. You see, Zinwa is the sole supplier of water, and if you look at agriculture, especially in this winter season, much of the cropping relies much on Zinwa. So indeed, Zinwa has to be, efficient in terms of providing water, especially to the areas, that produce much of that crop that's under irrigation. The price itself as well, it has, to be, commensurate, with the service that Zinwa is providing. Most of the farmers, especially in the winter cropping season, they complain, much about, water shortages, which actually, affects the quality of the crop. So I think that's where, the minister is coming in there, that, yes, Zinwa indeed has to shape up and improve in terms of efficiency. Of note, there is Zinwa actually, even reported a profit. What's the figure there? Was it 2 million?
2 million, yes,
which is actually is reinvested, in their operations. I think in terms of efficiency, it will help much in terms of improvement.
But with the trend that we've actually seen from Zinwa, a lack of water, could it be a forex issue? To do with how certain equipment as well as certain products that get in as input for the water that we actually get.
But if you look at how our dams, especially all our water reservoirs, the dams, they are all managed by Zinwa. To assess performance, when you look at how it has been supplying water, especially for residential on importing chemicals, and it's a forex issue, and it's a company. The inefficiencies that we were seeing are all a result of these.
They released the financials yesterday, and quite an interesting performance. Revenue of $800 million, profit of about $50 million, against internal inflation of about 125%. What is your assessment or your comment with regards to the performance of the corporation?
This is a good performance. If you look at in terms of absolute terms. But in real terms, if you adjust for inflation, I think the picture, might be different. If you look at how the company performed, 2018 or their trading year, we had, the first half, which had, totally different, macroeconomic conditions. The environment was a bit stable. We're still, thinking in terms of having, a solid multi-currency framework. The currency, then the advent of the interbank market, and inflation 2% in March last year. I think in terms of their presentations, I think they actually, explained that volumes, they didn't change much. They were fairly flat, or they rose marginally, I think by 1%. But what drove revenue growth was the changes in prices. So the growth actually was inflationary, benefiting, from those increased prices that we witnessed throughout the economy. But if this space in which operates, which I might call the mass, is facing competition. It's increased competition from those formal retailers, and also those, to mention a few. Then also the informal sector is also posing a serious a challenge to the operations. Especially those formal retail players such as I think they have relatively higher fixed cost, which is of course related to the space. Those informal. But overall, the performance, it's a great performance.
But the growth. And then they're also having to grapple with an internal inflation of 125%. What does this speak with regards to the corporation as well as to the sector in its entirety?
That's why when I say, if you look at this growth in just like absolute terms, if you don't factor in those adjustment to inflation, you would see it as an impressive growth. But in real terms, it's actually a concern. If you look at how the market is operating, generally people, they have depressed income, and disposable income are very low. So if you look at spending behavior by much of Zimbabweans, it's skewed towards those near basics, and people, they are just just buying those near necessities or those basics. So I think if they skew their business towards stocking more of those near basics, I think it will help sustain their income going forward.
I realize. Now let's talk about another corporation in our cement industry. They reported a 7% growth in sales volumes. Not detail given in terms of the figures there, but just a few figures, and one of which is an outcry from the populace where cement was concerned. What is your comment where this is concerned?
If you look at what was happening, especially in the last quarter, and I think those 3 quarters before, when inflation started to creeping upwards, people, they were doing panic buying, and some they were buying cement speculatively, just to store as a store of value. But if you went in the first quarter of this year, I think there was a lot of construction work that was happening all over the country. We are seeing the government investing much in terms of roads, refurbishment, and I think those are some of the companies that are positioned to benefit from such a government policy intervention.
Are we likely to see 22 of its projects
in delayed
government infrastructure projects?
I think, but
we, even if we had to play around the matrix, we say 40% export and 60% project. So I would argue that
I think it's actually an area, if the economy starts to improve, that's a key sector that will start to has been widened
in the past 2 sessions at around about 10.52 cents.
Sure.
Now, if let's just look at our laggards versus five bears, 20 counters traded on the stock exchange. Opening at the beginning of the year, it was around about 10 cents.